promising America tonight. You would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
The former president has said he is going to be a dictator on day one.
Donald Trump has openly vowed, if reelected, he'll be a dictator on day one.
We keep hearing from Kamala Harris and the White House that Donald Trump wants to be a dictator. But when it comes to actual policies, contradictions, and accountability, who's really avoiding the truth? Today, we're going to listen to what's actually being said directly from the source so you can decide for yourself.
The former president has said he is going to be a dictator on day one. We cannot ignore that. We cannot.
Donald Trump has openly vowed, if reelected, he'll be a dictator on day one. That he will weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies.
They use a lot was, I'll be a dictator. I said jokingly on Sean Hannity, I want to be a dictator for one day because I want to do the energy and I want to strengthen the border.
He says, you're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said, no, other than day one. We're closing the border. And we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator,
So that sounds to me like you're going back to the policies when you were president.
And it was said with a chuckle. The audience laughed, I laughed, we all laughed. But they take it and they cut it. These are very dishonest people that we're dealing with.
So you say that was taken out of context?
All you have to do is watch it.
It's funny how they always say he said something, but they never really show the clip. Unlike Kamala Harris saying she wants sex changes for prisoners with taxpayer dollars. Roll the clip.
Are you still in support of using taxpayer dollars to help prison inmates or detained illegal aliens to transition to another gender?
I will follow the law, and it's a law that Donald Trump actually followed. You're probably familiar with, now it's a public report, that under Donald Trump's administration, these surgeries were available on a medical necessity basis to people in the federal prison system. And I think, frankly, that ad from the Trump campaign is a little bit of like throwing, stones when you're living in a glass house.
The Trump aides say that he never advocated for that prison policy and no gender transition surgeries
you know what, you got to take responsible for what happened
presidency.
in your administration.
Yeah, no surgeries happened in his presidency.
It's in black and white.
Would you still advocate for using taxpayer dollars for gender reassignment surgeries?
I will follow the law. Just
that they were standing in the way of surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. And there was a specific case. And when I learned about the case, I worked behind the scenes to not only make sure that that transgender woman got the services she was deserving. So it wasn't only about that case. I made sure that they changed the policy in the state of California. And I believe it was not only, I know it was historic in California, but I believe actually it may have been one of the first, if not the first in the country, where I pushed for that policy in a Department of Corrections.
Or her saying she'll do nothing different from Biden.
Under a Harris administration, what would the major changes be and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
I know.
And so that would be one change in terms of...
Yes.
But also, I think it's important to say with, 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump. And so when we think about the significance of what this next generation of leadership looks like, were I to be elected president, it is about, frankly, I love the American people, and I believe in our country.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
While simultaneously saying she'll do things differently from Biden when pressured on the state of the economy that she herself said she had a vital hand in creating.
So, you're not Joe Biden, you're not Donald Trump, but nothing comes to mind that you would do differently?
Let me be very clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. Well, first of all, my administration will not be a continuation of the Biden administration.
Oh, and let's not forget about the border.
To fix the problem, you're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under Trump to actually still go to build the wall.
I am not afraid of good ideas where they occur.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense because he actually didn't do much of anything. I just talked about that wall, right? We just talked about it. He didn't actually do much of anything.
But you do want to build some wall.
I want to strengthen our border.
2022, 2023, there were record border crossings. Your administration took hundreds of executive actions. It didn't stem the flow. Numbers kept going up. Finally, in 2024, just in June, 3 weeks before the first presidential debate with Joe Biden, you institute executive actions that had a dramatic impact, really shut down people crossing over. Why didn't your administration do that in 2022, 2023?
First of all, you're exactly right, Anderson. And as of today, we have cut the flow of immigration by over half. In fact, the numbers I saw most recently, illegal immigration.
But if it was that easy with that
finish.
executive action, why not do it in 2022, 2023?
Because we were working with Congress and hoping that actually we could have a long-term fix to the problem instead of a short-term fix.
You couldn't have done one and both at the same time?
Well, here's the thing. We have to understand that ultimately this problem is going to be fixed through congressional action.
True.
But we need a permanent solution, and that requires bipartisan work.
Do you wish you'd done those executive orders in 2022, 2023?
I think we did the right thing.
What's even more absurd is she keep calling Trump mentally unfit.
Will you say that this evening? That he's a fascist?
I have said what I have to say, which is he is dangerous and unfit and increasingly unstable and unhinged, and the American people deserve better.
This is what he has resorted to, and I think he actually is increasingly unstable and unhinged. I invite the public to watch his rallies and be the decision maker on his acuity. And you will see in his rallies how he goes off on tangents, how he is not focused on the needs of the American people with solutions to the issues that concern them the most.
While simultaneously still saying that Joe Biden is fine.
Well, first of all, I'm answering your hypothetical. But Joe Biden's going to be fine. So that is not going to come to fruition.
Poll shows that 86% of Americans think Biden is too old to serve another term. That is a higher percentage than what we found in a previous poll in September. So clearly polling shows this is a persistent issue. What is the White House strategy to try and change that perception?
So look, we're going to continue to lead on leadership, right? We're going to continue to focus on what this president has been able to get done, what the president has been able to get done on behalf of the American people.
Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history. In one term, he has already, yes, you may clap. In one term, he has already surpassed the legacy of most presidents who have served 2 terms in office.
Say that you were honest with the American people about what you saw in those moments with President Biden as you were with him again and again, repeatedly in that time.
Of course. Joe Biden is an extremely accomplished, experienced, and capable in every way that anyone would want if they're president.
And you never saw anything like what happened at the debate night behind closed doors with him?
It was a bad debate. People have bad debates. He is absolutely.
But that's the reason why you're here, and he's not. It's a judgment question. That's why I ask. Can the American people trust you in these moments, even when it's maybe uncomfortable for Americans to level with Americans in that way? So that's why I ask. And it sounds like what you're saying is you feel like you never saw anything like that from President Biden.
I have worked with Joe Biden, hours and hours and hours over these 4 years, whether it be in the Situation Room or the Oval Office.
What are the states in the storm zone? What do they need after what you saw today?
Oh, in the storm zone?
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering what storm they're talking about. They're getting everything they need. They're very happy across the board.
I hope this experience for the speaker has been one of a personal revelation. I'm not being facetious. Anyway.
Mr. President, thank you.
But under the trickle-down economic theory, 3/4 of U.S. industries grew more consecrated. I'm thinking I didn't go to Mass.
Does that seem like a man that's fine and mentally capable? She won't even tell the American people the truth that we can see with our own eyes. If he was fine and fit, then why isn't he running for the presidency of the United States? Could it be that the Democrats knew he wasn't fine and mentally capable and they usurped him, replaced him with Kamala Harris, somebody that ran in 2020 that we were not willing to vote for? Or do they think we forgot?
So I may not be quick to have the answer as soon as you ask it about a specific policy issue sometimes, because I'm going to want to research it. I'm going to want to study it. I'm kind of a nerd sometimes, I confess.
If you're running for the highest office in the country, shouldn't you already be well versed on the policies that are most important and impactful to the American people? But it seemed like the only questions she can answer are about Trump.
Certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, who in fact vowed to be a dictator on day one.
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. He's a fascist to the core.
At the end of the day, actions speak louder than words. While Kamala Harris and this administration question others' intentions and fitness, it's clear unanswered questions and inconsistencies remain on their own end. As voters, we deserve honesty, transparency, and a leader who's not going to dodge the tough question. So, who's really fit to lead? And who isn't being straight with the American people?